Thank you for joining us. And today we will be talking with Councilman Joseph Jones, who will be talking about the importance of voting. So thank you so much for being with us today, Councilman Jones. Um, and I understand that you are an alum of Tri-C. Is that true?
Yes, yes, I am.
Go Triceratops.
That's right.
So we're so happy to have you with us. And I first want you to start by sharing your history and where you grew up with our viewers.
Uh, Basically, I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Cleveland, the Lee Harvard Ward 1 area. I have went to several schools in the Cleveland Public Schools District. I graduated from Aviation High School. I went on to Cleveland State University and also Tri-C Community College. And I just, felt that, um, you know, my life growing up in the city of Cleveland has been a blessing and it has been beautiful. Uh, and, um, and I have a beautiful wife. Her name is Tanya Jones. A lot of people know her as Judge Tanya Jones. I have a beautiful family now, 18-year-old son, Joseph Jones, who is now at Ohio State University. And I have a marvelous, beautiful young lady of a daughter, Margaret Jones. And I'm a family man, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to serve the citizens of the Lee Harvard Ward 1 area.
Being a person of color in politics is a very seldom, and I dare even say daunting thing, right? And so, do you think that representation and diversity is important? Um, And how do you think that we could get to a place where our Senate, our Congress, our presidents become more diverse instead of what we have seen historically?
Well, I think very critical is super important. And before I even get to that space, because what you have is you have a multifaceted America,
Hmm.
and you really can't have one cutter process fits all. Um, and with such a diverse population of peoples on the planet, it's really significant and important to have diversity, because having diversity gives you more of a rounded prospect of what things are for different populations of people and what impact different people.
You talk about the importance of voting and um, all of these phenomenal values that I think are embedded in in the country of America. And so I know that you share a very unique experience with voting and how only a few votes really put you in the position of public service that you are in now. So, can you share with us that experience and how you kind of maneuvered your way through that experience? And did you learn anything?
Well, I've always been the underdog. When I first ran for public office back 22 years ago, um, I was still an underdog. I was a
Mhm.
person who did not have a degree, coming up against an elected official who was an attorney,
Mm.
and he had all the support of the powers that be, had all the money and resources.
Mm.
So you have to have a dogged determination when you're running for public office to make sure that that determination is so strong in you, embedded in you, that you have to have that kind of energy to spread it so it's contagious to everyone who may even doubt themselves, their ability, their capacity. You have to not only have it in you, but you have to be able to import it into other people around you.
Into others, yes.
That's right. So you create that synergy of excitement. And so this is another thing that candidates, if you want to be successful and win, you have to have that determination to succeed. That doesn't mean that you're not going to get knocked down sometimes.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you ain't going to have some bad days and some days that you feel that, you might be losing pretty bad. So you're going to lose some of those small battles. But you got to know when you're looking at the battlefield of politics that if your determination is stronger than your opponent, you will win. And then here's one of the things that's really fantastic about campaigning. I love campaigning. In fact, I enjoy campaigning because I've never lost a campaign. Every campaign
Wow.
that I've managed, behind the scenes or in the front, I've always won. But it first starts with the candidate. The
Hmm.
candidate has to have a strong determination and work ethic that this is what they want to do. But more important, they have to have, because there's two brains in the process of this individual person. It's his brain that he thinks with, and it's his heart. So if his heart is 100 in and his brain is in it, and they're on the same tandem, and then they got the great platform because the messaging is important. But when I sit down with people and I interview them, if they want me to help them, I always ask them some basic questions. What is your platform? But first, why are you running?
So right now we are in kind of the threshold of uh, kind of the voting process, right? And one of our goals as democracy fellows at Tri-C is to encourage college students of all ages to register to vote and exercise this right to vote. And so, why do you think that college students should vote?
Well, I think their future depends upon it. That's the first thing. You, you cannot be an American citizen and not participate.
Right.
Because when you don't participate, and see, it's more, and see, and this is where we as elected officials and politicians need to be able to also, as parents and citizens of society, explain to younger people the significance and importance of who's governing you.
Hmm.
You can't say much about the issues if the environment is so bad, and you're not getting what you need to get as a human being on in the most powerful country on the planet if you don't participate. You can't be on the outside. You got to get in and participate. Politics and being an American citizen is a participatory sport. You must participate in that process. And then you have to take it another level after you vote. That next level is holding accountable those elected officials.
Yes.
Why did you vote for them in the first place? And that's the whole process of creating that excitement. Hopefully, that candidate is knocking on those doors, talking to those students, trying to convince those who are voting or those who are on the sidelines why it's so important to vote for them. So you have to create that excitement, and that's something in American politics in some instances we've gotten away from, is creating the reasons why people go out and vote. And so part of that it is like it's a rites of passage to vote in this country. If you're not voting in this country, then you're saying that I don't care about how much I'm being taxed. I don't care about the services or the lack of services I'm getting. I just don't care, and I'll just take it on the chin, whatever happens. And so, with that, to say to the young people that we need you. We need you to think about politics. We need to see you engaged. We want you. You are the future. You are the future in the present. And we need you right now. I don't care who you are. If you love your people, you love your community, you love your neighborhood, you love your country, then you must participate. If you want to see things right, you have to participate. And you have to have a love in your soul and your spirit to want to do this. Being in public service is a honor. It is something that is unique and great when you can help other people, and you can help other
Hmm.
people who are in need. And you can
Yes.
help by being in public office and using the strings of power to do that. And that's what it's all about. Is sometimes it's not about the politician, but it's about the ability and the capacity to serve. And so we
Yes.
need more young people to serve in public office unlike ever before. And so the call right now is to get the young people involved, because I feel that if we got more young people involved, they'll be able to get their generations involved in this thing called politics in America.
What would you say to, because a lot of my friends, they protest, they reblog and they repost and they retweet, but they are not registered voters, they don't participate in the democratic process. And so what would you say to someone who is at at these protests, at these marches, who can palpably see that there is something that politics is not, that's something that that has to be fixed in politics, but is not casting their vote?
Well, it's I was asked this question, and the question is why don't people who are younger vote?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a myriad thoughts on the reasons why. But thinking about why people don't vote versus going out and asking young people why they don't vote is a task that we're going to have to start moving towards. Um, how efficiently can we make it for people to vote? And I submit to you, we might have to come up with some type of new way of doing that. I am hurt to the core that we don't have the younger vote like we should. So we have to start talking about here's what we want and here's how we need to create that change. And I think one of the things to bring that balance back is to be able to not only just be frustrated about things and then have a march, but also to put an agenda together and execute that agenda. And then bring a committee together and have organization. Because as you know, and I know, you cannot, even in this interview, if you didn't have a platform and a system in place, we wouldn't be able to talk and communicate and record what we're talking about now. So you have to put that system in place. And your generation is that next generation. No matter of all of what has happened in generations before you and how they have, some of them have failed miserably and some of them have not, you still have what you have. It's not perfect, but you still have something to work on. And that's what democracy is all about. Being able to get those generations, and the struggle doesn't stop. Something we have to say. The struggle doesn't stop. It only moves from one generation to the next generation. So
Yes.
it's incumbent upon our generation and those younger generations and those young people to inspire into them that they must be the difference maker. And if they are not, then we leave our democracy in happenstance. So the vote is important. You must vote. You cannot afford to go out and protest, put your life on the line, and then can't do something as simple as cast a vote.
Because I think it's important to have an understanding that our vote is our voice. And if we are not exercising our vote, our voice is not heard. And like you said, right now is not the time to sit on the sidelines or just watch this uh, process go by. We have to be active, and we have to exercise our right to vote now more than ever. Not only in this upcoming election, but in every election afterwards.
And you're absolutely right. We cannot take for granted not just this election, but all the elections. We cannot sit back and let a mockery of so many Americans who fought and died for our country, for the right of freedom and justice and liberty, to be completely taken off the table. And that is what it's all about. And if you can't inspire people on that, if they find themselves in a place where they don't vote, then unfortunately they'll be like so many other societies. So we
Yes.
can't sit back and just think as Americans we can take our hand off the steering wheel of the boat.
Right.
Because I know we're floating in the water, it doesn't seem like those rocks over there is real serious. Right. Because as soon as we take our hand off of that wheel of
Yes.
guiding the direction of where we should go as Americans and protecting our boat called America, we will find ourselves crashed up against the rocks and we'll be a nation of no more, like so many other countries and governments that came before us. So we can't sit here and be passively idle.
And I think even from simply a historical context of what the African American community had to do just to get their right to vote. for women who had to fight so long to get their right to vote. I think that, like you said, there has to be a historical context and there has to be a weight that we carry every time we go to the ballot box. And there is an importance of what we're doing because our ancestors fought for our rights, right? And it is our duty not only to our ancestors and to our family, but more importantly to our country that we are participating in this process.
And I absolutely agree. I think that, starting with letting people know, because, and here's what we face with, and that's the reason why I say that the struggle continues from one generation to the
Hmm.
next generation. What we don't
Right.
always often have is historical memory.
Yes.
So each generation is new. Uh, there, each human being that is born today and tomorrow and in the future, and those who, as they continue to grow, and they're young people now, and they're in their teenage years and their 20s, all of their ideals, their concepts, their values, their opinions, their beliefs are shaped by the environment they're born in, the streets they grow up
Yes.
on, the schools they go to, the television programs, the people they hang out with. All of that is added into them, so they don't have a memory of what was before them. So re-educating people and letting them understand that is significant and important. And I think that we should have some kind of system that explains the importance and significance of voting and how it will
Yes.
impact their lives, because they just don't know. So that's the reason why a lot of the younger people, they don't know. It's like being in a courtroom and you don't know law. That's why you need an
Yeah.
attorney. you
I
know?
think that's a wonderful metaphor.
Yeah.
Councilman Jones, I think we have touched on a lot of fantastic topics. I wish we had more time. If we had more time, I think, we would never get off this phone, truthfully. Um, I thank you for your wisdom. I thank you for your transparency. I thank you for uh, just taking the time out of your incredibly busy day to have this interview with us. So thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you giving me, Sebastian, the opportunity to be interviewed, and I'm just so appreciative and humbled, and just thankful that God has allowed me just another day to have the opportunity to serve people. It gives me great delight, and I'm happiest when I do that, and I'm thankful I get that opportunity to do so. And I'm appreciative of those 8 votes that allowed me to have that opportunity with so many others who prayed for me. So I'm really appreciative to have the opportunity to serve people in our great city of the city of Cleveland, and certainly in our great nation, America.